Do you ever wonder why politicians start off many of their important announcements with the phrase, "Let's be clear"? I do, especially because I do not trust any politician or anyone working on behalf of the U.S. Corp in D.C. that is posing as a government control mind that has militarily invaded the 50 sovereign countries of the United States of America via Northern Command, Northcom, www.northcom.mil. So I asked Meta AI to answer the following questions. I think you will find the answers very enlightening and intriguing. Here's what I asked Meta AI. What are the hidden, legal, lawful, and neurolinguistic programming why politicians use the phrase, "Let's be clear"? The phrase "let's be clear" is a classic example of a linguistic device used by politicians to influence public perception. Here's what's behind it. Establishing authority. By saying "let's be clear," politicians create an air of authority, implying that they're about to provide clarity on a complex issue. This phrase helps them establish control over the narrative, creating a sense of urgency. "Let's be clear" can also be used to create a sense of urgency or importance around an issue. By implying that clarity is necessary, politicians can make their message seem more critical or time-sensitive. Neurolinguistic Programming, or NLP, offers an interesting perspective on the phrase "let's be clear." From an NLP standpoint, this phrase can be seen as a form of anchoring. By using it, politicians anchor the audience's attention, making them more receptive to the message that follows. Sometimes, politicians use "let's be clear" to deflect criticism or counter arguments. By framing their statement as a clarification, they can avoid directly addressing opposing views. Finally, "let's be clear" can be used to build trust with the audience. By appearing transparent and willing to provide clarity, politicians can create a sense of rapport with their listeners. While "let's be clear" might seem like a harmless phrase, it's actually a carefully crafted tool used by politicians to shape public opinion and advance their agendas. The use of the "let's be clear" tactic by politicians can be seen as a red flag, indicating that they might be trying to manipulate public opinion or obscure the truth. Here are some reasons why. 1. Evasion. By using "let's be clear," politicians might be avoiding direct answers or sidestepping uncomfortable questions. 2. Spin doctoring. This phrase can be used to put a positive spin on controversial or unpopular policies. 3. Manipulation. As I mentioned earlier, "let's be clear" can be an NLP technique to anchor the audience's attention and create a desired perception. And 4. Lack of transparency. When politicians rely on this tactic, it may indicate that they're not being entirely transparent or honest about their intentions or policies. To maintain a critical perspective, consider the following. First, verify information. Fact-check claims made by politicians, especially when they use phrases like "let's be clear." Second, watch for inconsistencies. Pay attention to inconsistencies between their words and actions. Third, seek diverse sources. Expose yourself to various news sources and perspectives to get a more comprehensive understanding of the issues. And finally, engage your critical thinking skills when evaluating political messages and be wary of emotional appeals or manipulative language. Politicians use various tactics to obfuscate information and manipulate public opinion. Here are some examples. Emotional manipulation. Politicians often appeal to emotions rather than facts to sway public opinion. They may use fear, anger, or nostalgia to create a desired emotional response. Neologisms and buzzwords. Politicians create new terms or phrases to shape public discourse and create a desired narrative. Examples include climate change instead of global warming. Politicians often repeat key phrases or slogans to make them more memorable. This creates an echo chamber effect, where the same message is echoed across different platforms. They might also use divisive language to foster an us versus them mentality. This tactic solidifies their base and creates a sense of unity against a perceived enemy. Additionally, politicians and their teams manipulate social media to spread misinformation, create fake accounts, and amplify their message, all to influence public opinion. Politicians frequently employ linguistic unobtrusiveness, using subtle language manipulation to create a desired effect without being too obvious. This can include phrases that are easy to remember but difficult to scrutinize. Moreover, they often create a sense of urgency around an issue to prompt immediate action or decision-making, usually without providing the full context or information. So, what solutions can the public implement to keep from being manipulated by politicians and their attempts to manipulate the vast majority? To avoid being manipulated by politicians, the public can implement the following solutions. First, critical thinking. Encourage critical thinking by questioning information, analyzing sources, and evaluating evidence. Second, media literacy. Develop media literacy skills to identify biased or misleading information and seek out diverse sources. Third, fact-checking. Verify facts using reputable fact-checking organizations, such as Snopes or PolitiFact. Fourth, multiple sources. Expose yourself to various news sources, including international and local outlets, to get a well-rounded understanding of issues. Fifth, independent research. Conduct independent research on topics using academic journals, government reports, and other credible sources. Sixth, engage in civil discourse. Encourage respectful discussions with others, listening to opposing views, and engaging in constructive debates. Support independent journalism. Promote and support independent journalism, which can provide unbiased and in-depth reporting. Also, be aware of emotional manipulation. Recognize when politicians are using emotional appeals to manipulate public opinion. Demand transparency. Hold politicians accountable for transparency, pushing for clear and concise language in their messaging. And let's not forget about civic education. Support civic education initiatives that teach critical thinking, media literacy, and civic engagement skills. Use technology wisely. Utilize technology to fact-check information, track politicians' voting records, and engage in online discussions. Encourage whistleblowers. Support whistleblowers who come forward with information that exposes manipulation or corruption. Advocate for campaign finance reform. Push for campaign finance reform to reduce the influence of special interest groups and money in politics. Engage in activism. Participate in peaceful protests, write letters to representatives, and engage in other forms of activism to hold politicians accountable. By implementing these solutions, the public can become more informed, critically thinking, and resilient to manipulation by politicians. Please support this channel by liking, sharing, subscribing, and considering purchasing the books listed in the video description or watching the movie Hollywood and Vine on Amazon Prime.